Thumbelina. Once there was a woman who longed to have a child. She wanted one so badly that she went to a witch for help.
I want to have a child. Could you help me?
Asked the woman.
Of course I can. Just pay me, and I'll give you this seed. Take it home, plant it, and look after it carefully,
said the witch. So the woman paid the witch and took the seed home and planted it. It soon sprouted and grew into a large flower, a tulip. The petals were tightly closed. The woman kissed the petals and it opened. Inside, she found a tiny girl, no bigger than the woman's thumb. She was as graceful as the flower, and the woman named her Thumbelina. The woman gave Thumbelina a bed made of a well-polished walnut and flower petal as blankets. Thumbelina sang beautifully for the woman every day. One night, as Thumbelina was sleeping, a toad came, looked at her, and said to herself,
"What a perfect wife for my son! I shall bring her home."
She then carried the walnut shell with Thumbelina sleeping inside and went home to her pond. She placed the walnut shell on a lily leaf on the pond and went to build a mud hole for the bride. Early next morning, Thumbelina woke up and found herself in a strange place. It scared her and she began to weep.
Oh, someone, please help me. I want to go home.
The fishes swimming in the pond heard her cries and decided to help her. They got hold of the lily leaf and helped her out of the pond. After thanking them, Thumbelina wandered into the woods. She couldn't find her way back to her home, so she lived in the woods by herself. She was happy, at least until winter came. It got really cold and even started to snow. Even wrapping herself up with leaves didn't help.
I'm so cold. If I can't find a warm place to stay, I'll die,
she said to herself. She started walking and came to a mound in a cornfield. The mound had a little door. Thumbelina went up to the door and knocked on it. A field mouse opened it and said,
"Come in, my dear. You're shivering. If you don't have a home, you're welcome to stay with me for a while."
So, Thumbelina stayed with the generous field mouse during the winter. One day, a mole came to visit the field mouse. The field mouse asked Thumbelina to sing for them after dinner, and the mole fell in love with her and wanted to marry her. The mole showed them to his home, hoping to impress Thumbelina. On the way, they found an injured swallow lying on the ground with its eyes closed. The mole hated outdoor creatures and ignored the swallow, but Thumbelina was concerned. That night, Thumbelina wove a blanket of hay and went to find the swallow. Thankfully, the swallow was still alive. She put the blanket over the bird and found the bird some food. All throughout winter, Thumbelina nursed the swallow back to health. Eventually, the swallow was strong and well enough to fly.
Come, sit on my back, and I will fly you out to a better place,
said the swallow.
No, I'm sorry. I can't. I have to marry the mole,
said Thumbelina. She watched sadly as the swallow flew away. Thumbelina was quite unhappy. She did not want to marry the mole and live underground for the rest of her life. Before the wedding, the mole said to her,
"Why don't you go out and take a last look at the sun?"
Thumbelina went out and looked up at the sky for what she thought was the last time. Suddenly, she heard someone calling her.
Thumbelina, come, fly with me. I will bring you away,
cried the swallow. This time, without hesitation, Thumbelina climbed onto the back of the swallow and flew away from where the mole was. After a while, they came to a beautiful meadow with many flowers.
Here we are. You can take a flower for your home, and we can always see each other,
said the swallow.
Yes, this is a beautiful place, and I'd love to stay in the flower,
said Thumbelina cheerfully.
Actually, there are people like you here who live in flowers. Maybe you can make friends,
said the swallow. The swallow flew to a particularly beautiful flower and put her gently down on a petal. Inside the flower stood a young man with a silver crown and a pair of wings. He was quite frightened, as he had never been so close to a swallow before. However, he lost his fear when he set his eyes on Thumbelina.
I am the king of the people living here. You are very pretty. Will you marry me?
Asked the king, as he took off his crown and put it on her.
Yes, I will,
said Thumbelina. She had fallen in love with the king as soon as she saw him. On her wedding day, the king gave her a beautiful pair of wings, so she could fly from flower to flower. They lived happily ever after.